I'm going to bring up one of our favorite words here, and that is politics. Politics, no doubt, can get in the way, or I should at least say get involved with leadership issues when there's a crisis. What are your thoughts about dealing with the political leaders that is a part of our realities, who definitely have a job to do? What do you do when you're a law enforcement agency and the United States Department of Justice comes to town and says, we're investigating your department now? Or, the Department of Education, the Department of Justice comes to Golden West College and says, we're investigating you. Are you maintaining the standards that you're supposed to? Doctor, would you mind starting off with the political issue?
Well, I have to caveat that because I did work for the Department of Justice, so it wasn't it wasn't that they were coming to. They don't approach the FBI quite the same way they do state, local, and tribal law enforcement. It's different, but that doesn't mean there isn't an oversight that they have. And there were many times that the Department of Justice would have one way of looking at FBI operations, and that is very hard. I certainly can't answer it on the state or local level, but there were times that the organization that I was a leader in was investigated by Department of Justice internal investigations, and there have been times when there have been court orders against the organization involving certain investigative activities where the Bureau was directed by the court, ordered by the court to do things differently. That's really hard to take within an organization. And I understand that. When people come at you from the outside and have some authority over you and say, you were investigating unethically, illegally, improperly, you're going years back. Some of you may recall that the FBI was found to have done some wiretapping without the proper authorities. That's embarrassing to your organization. It's embarrassing to your image, to your reputation. It certainly had an impact on FBI recruiting for a number of years because people didn't want to be associated with an organization that was found to do things that were unethical. The organization learned from that. I think you have to take that as an opportunity to be better. And fortunately, with the right leadership, the organization did come to be better and did come to go back to what were their basic core values, which was integrity was one of them. And for a while, some people just sort of missed that piece. So you go back to your roots, you start over, and you build back up. And with the right people and the right motivation, they can do that. And I think, from that particular organization standpoint, it came back up. That doesn't mean that even 40 years later, you don't see a news article that doesn't drag up the junk. And all of your organizations, it doesn't matter how good you did, how well you played the last game, there's somebody in the media or a blogger or whoever will bring up the junk. It never really goes away.
Chief?
I wish I could say this was just a hypothetical. I think that when you think about who we are as professionals, we take a lot of pride in what we do, and we believe that the way we're doing it is the best way to do it. And I think often we'll rationalize that the negative things that are thrown our way, there's a reason for it, and the reason is that we're overwhelmed, we're understaffed, the level of violence, the gangs, the drugs, all of these kind of different things that allows you to do things differently than you might do them under optimal circumstances. And sometimes you lose sight of where you should be going, and you tend to use that rationalization when maybe you shouldn't be. And then you look at the lawyers who come in who make a living suing the police, and that further makes you want to hunker down and say, you know what, we're a great organization, and they're trying to attack us for all the wrong reasons. Instead of taking a step back and saying we are a great organization, maybe some of our patterns or our practices or the things we do could be done different in today's environment than they were done 20 years ago. And looking at it in that light, that there's maybe a shift in public perception or public expectations that maybe the organization, as busy as we are, has not kept up with. And so I think it's having that sensitivity to say that the job has to go on and that the expectations have changed, and we're going to figure out a way to change with those expectations to deliver the best level of service that we can. And I look back on my days with LAPD and the federal consent decree and all of that went on, the Christopher Commission after the riot, the Webster Commission as well, and looking at those different entities that came in from the outside and basically pointed fingers and gave the perception that from on high, we're going to tell you how to police this city that you've grown up in your career. And you have to not take it personal, and you have to realize that along with those lawyers that are making a lot of money and benefiting from this, there's also a lot of good people involved that are trying to represent the greater society. And that's not always easy to see. But I look at LAPD as an organization, and as onerous as that consent decree was, and as much time was spent on check-the-box type of things that we all wondered, why do we have to do it this way? I look at that organization today, and it is a much better organization than it was prior for a number of reasons, and part of it was just that we were comfortable in where we were as an organization, and that pride that we took in doing the job, understaffed, under-resourced, and all of that, we were able to use it as an opportunity to be able to bring the department's complement up to, they're almost up to 10,000 now, and they've been able to retain that number now in spite of the economic downturn. I look at a lot of the equipment, the automation, and a lot of the things that we did not have, we were able to get because of the federal oversight and looking for best practices. So there was definitely a silver lining to what appeared to be nothing but a very dark storm. But you can't see it when you're in it. You have to wait till you kind of get through it and have faith in the process, faith in the people you work with, and hope that you will have a position to be able to give your input into shaping what comes your way rather than just having it as would appear to be imposed on you. So I think that a lot of lessons learned from that, a lot of lessons that I think a lot of people would be willing to share as well if anyone was to face that kind of thing coming downrange. But certainly I think that all of the things that we feel as individuals, we also feel as organizations, particularly as it relates to the pride that we take in what we do.
Great, thank you. Colleen.
Yeah, I mean, the political issue is there. It's you have different entities you're responsible to report to. They care about what happens in your organization. It's a reflection of them and their leadership ability. It's a reflection of the quality of services. So in the probation department's case, the county executive office, the Orange County Board of Supervisors. We also had state agencies that would inspect us. We had healthcare agencies, environmental health. And so we always had a number of people coming in, the Juvenile Justice Commission, to inspect and to grade us, if you will, on how we managed juveniles in detention, how we handled our case files, how we did our documentation. And we also had a whole new wave of interest when the Orange County Sheriff's Department went through some of their issues in the prior sheriff's tenure, and it had to do with internal affairs investigations, and did there need to be an outside entity to come in and actually have an Office of Independent Review, which was in fact established. I'm a big believer in I welcome audits. Whenever we would have accusations made against the department, I would ask the county's internal audit to come in and tell me if we had problems that we were blinded to. Was there a place in the organization that there were dark secrets that did not get to my attention? I wanted to know. Because I feel you can only tackle a problem if you know it's there. And to avoid those kinds of inspections and audits and inquiries is wishful thinking that it's just going to go away. And very often if there's something there, why not find out and get rid of it, take care of the problem, make the improvement. We also had in the 80s the Youth Law Center, which is a nonprofit lawyer group similar to the ACLU, but their interest is juvenile justice matters, sued the county for the practices that were used in the juvenile detention facility as it relates to restraints of minors that were mentally ill and out of control. As you experienced, that lawsuit and what came out of that, policies and procedures were changed even during the lawsuit, and we became a much better department because of it. So had those inquiries not been made, people just think, no, this is the way it's always been done, we'll keep doing it. Maybe there is a better way, and sometimes you're forced to look at it. One other example is I've got some of my colleagues that were up and down the state in California where budgets were really, really tight. Some of them don't even have juvenile halls. They would have to drive a juvenile prisoner 300 miles to the adjoining county's juvenile hall. And so they would fight constantly for money. Well, if they would get inquiries as to, sometimes of mistreatment of juveniles, the policymakers then don't like to have that kind of, scandal in their county. And all of a sudden, you get some extra budget money because of it. So you can fix those problems that continue to reoccur. So it's it's a two-step dance. Find out what the problem is, maybe go to your policymaker, and that's what then prompts the corrective action plan and the money that needs to come with it.